Okay, here we go. We're now on the boil part of the home brew process. I just sanitized these pieces you're looking at right now. We've got the airlock, the thermometer, which I didn't really mention last time. That's very important. We're going to use that during the brewing part. Our spoon and the little cover for the airlock over there. And also, I'm in the middle of sanitizing the pail, the ale pail, where the beer is going to go. It's a 5-gallon bucket. So we'll be putting the beer in there when the boil is done. If you can hear that in the background, that's the sound of the water boiling right now, or at least coming to a boil. And we'll come over here and look at it. Not really ready yet. This is a new mix I'm trying, so the instructions are a little different. In the past, I've put the grains into the beer first, then brought it to a boil. This time, they're saying to bring it to a boil first and get it to 152 degrees Fahrenheit. So we're probably not that close right now, so I'm going to give it a little bit longer, then I'll start checking the temp on that. I won't bore you with waiting for it to get to that temperature. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to transfer the grains into the little mesh bag. The thing that looks like a gym sock, we'll take a look at that. I'll show you that process next. Okay, here we have the steeping grains. If you look at it close, it almost looks like a bag of bird seed. This is what we're going to stick into the boiling water once it gets to the right temperature. But we're not going to put it in like this. We're going to put it in the little bag here. So what I'm going to do is just transfer it right now. And we'll keep an eye on the temperature. Like we just saw, the water isn't really bubbling over just yet, so we're probably nowhere near 152 degrees, but we'll get there soon enough. So I'm just going to transfer the grains into the bag right now, like that. Easy enough. So basically think about it like a big giant bag of tea. We got a little spilling up the sides here, that's okay. Plenty of grains to go around. Alright, so there's our grain bag. I'm going to just tie it off so everything stays nice and neat. And we're going to transfer this over once we get to the right temperature. And so from here I'm going to be using the thermometer to check. So here's a little bag of grains ready to go into the pot. I'll stick that on a little plate to keep it nice and clean, keep it out of the way. So the next part is going to be when I turn off the burner and we let the bag steep for a few minutes. So, okay, I just transferred the bag with the steeping grains into the water now that we've turned off the burner. It's a little hotter than the 152 degrees, but as long as you're in that range, that's really what's important. And as you can maybe see on the video, I'll try to get in a little closer. You can see the grains starting to steep into the water, which is exactly what we want. I'll move it around a little bit. You can see that kind of coloration happening, and that's exactly what we want. So we're going to let this sit now for about an hour. So I won't make y'all watch it for an hour. We're going to jump ahead as soon as it's done, and we'll show you the next part. Okay, we're about halfway through the initial steeping of the grains. As you can see now, it's really gotten a lot darker, which is really good, what we want. So we're going to keep this going for about another half hour, and then we'll move on to the next step, which is going to be another 60-minute boil. But what we're going to do for that part, I'll show you those ingredients now. We're going to be using these hops. For one, we're going to put half of these hops in the next step for the beginning of the 60 minutes, and then the other half at the end, about 2 minutes from that 60-minute boil finishing. Also for that 60 minutes, we're going to be putting this guy in there, malt extract. So I have it in this other container right now because what I found works pretty good with these, plastic containers of what's in there is basically like a syrup consistency. I'm going to put some hot water in there right before I'm going to use it, just to loosen up the syrup a little bit, make it pour a little bit easier. And one more thing I'll show you. I did have to turn the burner back on. The instructions say to let it steep, but as you can see, we're right around that 152 degree mark, and it was getting a little below that. So I'm not trying to boil it, I'm just trying to keep it right there. So part of this process is, of course, just kind of keeping an eye on things and making little adjustments as you need. So about another half hour to go, and then we'll be doing the next boil where we're going to put the malt extract and 1/2 of the hops in. So there we go. Okay, 60 minutes is done. We have removed the steeping grains. As you can see now, it's pretty nice dark color. Got a lot of steeping going on there, so that's really good. I put the bag here that we filled earlier. We're done with that. I'm going to throw it away, but just showing you. I just stuck it there for right now to get it out of the way. Here's that extract I was talking about. See, I put it in some hot water to kind of loosen it up. So in a few seconds, I'm going to cut that foil seal and pour it into this pot here. Also, we've got the hops. I've divided the 1 ounce into 2 halves. So the first half we're going to put in immediately when we start this next boil, and the second one we're going to put in about 2 minutes left in the boil. Okay, so taking the extract now and pouring it in. We're not going to start boiling yet until I get all this stirred in. We're also going to put in the hops. So we're just going to, I'm gradually just going to stir this right now. We're not going to worry about setting a timer yet for 60 minutes. We just want to get this kind of mixed in as good as we can. I'm just going to scoop a little bit out of the container here, get as much as I can, all that nice extract in there as much as we can. So there's a lot of waiting going on with home brewing. It's just between the different parts of the process. But it's always a good thing in the end when you can taste that beer that you made. So stir this. I think I'm done with that. I'm going to move the thermometer out of the way. We don't need that right now anyway. We're just going to be boiling for the next step so we can stir this one a little better. Okay. And what we're going to do is wait to put our hops in until we're actually at the boiling point. Right now the point of this step is just to get it all stirred in. So I'll keep stirring, and we'll catch up when we're starting to boil again. Okay, we're getting pretty close to the boiling point here. I just wanted to show y'all how it's looking right now. We've got like a little bit of a film that's formed on the top, which is what usually happens. The only thing we have to watch for is boilovers. When this thing starts to really get going, you can see we're not too far from the top of the pot, so this will definitely rise a little bit during this whole process, so just have to keep an eye on it. I wish I could give you a more scientific explanation what's going on here, but let's just say boilovers do happen and they suck. So the best way I've found from years of doing this is if it ever happens, when it happens, to just remove the pot from the burner for a little bit and kind of let the heat kind of subside a little bit. That usually works. Even drop the stove temp down a little bit. I mean, I got it on high right now all the way, if we want to get the boil going. So you can see it's starting to kind of break through that now. So I'm going to shut off the camera so I can keep an eye on it. Don't want to be fooling with the camera if it's boiling over. So we'll catch up with y'all in a bit. Okay, yeah, just right as I was saying that in the last clip, it was starting to boil over. So luckily I was able to put the phone down and get the kettle off of the burner in enough time. So as you can see now, we got a good rolling boil going. Started the timer. We're about 58 minutes to go. So, and I did add the 1/2 of the 1 ounce hops in there. So we'll be kind of watching this sucker for the next 57 plus minutes, and then we'll put the other 1/2 of the hops in there. And then we're also going to go and put the next malt extract toward the end, which is going to be this sparkling amber pure malt extract. So that's going to be when we're done with this part of the boil. We're going to do that and then chill it and put it in the pail so it can start fermenting. Okay, we're coming up to the end of our 60-minute boil, and in about another 30 seconds I'm going to throw in the second half of those hops we were talking about, and we're going to get to the pure malt extract for the sparkling amber. I was talking about that earlier. I got that soaking in a little hot water here to loosen it up some. So let me cut it open so we can pour it out. We're going to put this away. We're going to turn the burner off, and we're going to mix in the sparkling amber malt extract, and then we're going to let the whole wort chill. We're going to try to get it down to 70 degrees as close as we can, and then we'll put it in the pail and we'll be able to start fermentation. So now I'm going to put in the last of the hops. There they go. And we got about another 40 seconds. Let me grab my spoon so we can mix this around when it's time. I didn't mention this in the early video about all the kit pieces and parts and everything, but as far as the price goes, if anybody's wondering, I looked it up, and the site that I bought this kit from originally, Midwest Supplies, you can get an average starting kit for about $110 right now, just to give you an idea. Gives you pretty much everything you need, of course, except for water. But yeah, that's about what you're looking at for starting. Okay, there's our timer. So we're going to turn off the burn and put this over to chill, and we're going to mix in our extract. And we just want to make sure that it doesn't burn, so I'm just going to stir the pot here, so to speak, and let this thing kind of pour in. I'm just pouring that in. Can't really see it from here, but let me see if I can get a little closer of a video shot for y'all. I'm going to just stir this in. Let's see how we're going to do this. Okay. There we go. Just like before, we're stirring in the extract. Just want to make sure it blends nice and well. Remember, we still got a very hot pot in there, even though it's not on the burner anymore, so we don't want it to stick to the bottom, which it sometimes can. We're done with the boil, so I put the pot on a burner that's not on so it can at least cool a slight bit faster. After this, I'm going to put it in the sink for a little while. I got the sink stopped up. I'm going to put some ice in there and some water just to chill it. The whole idea of that is we want to get it down to 70 degrees. So that's the next step. So that's pretty much this part of it. So I'll catch up with y'all when we're in the cooling phase. Okay, I just want to show you all the sink. I got it all filled up with water. Got some ice packs in there. Got some ice cubes. And we just got it ready to go. We're going to just try and get this pot chilled down as quick as possible. I got the thermometer on the pot so we can keep an eye on it. So we just want it to get down to that 70-degree mark. And there we go. We got our wort chilling in there and our ice bath. Just bringing that temperature down. Let's see, we're around coming down to close to 180 right now. We're trying to get over to 70, so it's going to be a little bit of a wait here. We're just trying to cool it. There's several methods for doing this. I've used a few over the years. This one I found works pretty good. There's a little copper tube, coiled tube that you can get that you hook up to your garden hose, and you can run that. You know, I find that that can work to a point, but when we're over here in South Louisiana, May and on, it's not that easy to get cool water a lot of the time. So I mean, and plus you're going to look at running the water for a pretty good while to do that. I saw another one where it's more of an electronic wort chiller. I mean, I think the price was at least over $100. So the pretty much the equivalent of buying an entire new kit for doing homebrew to get just this one wort chiller. You know, like any hobby, you can spend as much as you want on it. I just don't feel the need to go that far with it. But, you know, different strokes for different folks and all that. So we're just going to keep watching this. I won't bore you with the degree by degree countdown. So we'll check back with you when we're ready for putting it into the pail and the final adding of the yeast to start the fermentation. Okay, that is it. Our beer is cooled to 70 degrees. We have it now in the pail. I've added some water, water I had in the fridge to make sure we get up to that 5-gallon mark. So we got 5 gallons in there. So our last ingredient is going to be this little packet of yeast, dry yeast. So I'm just going to sprinkle that on top, like so. Get that all in there. And make sure some of that yeast sometimes sticks to the sides. That's good enough. Okay, and we're going to just stir it in a little bit. Let that yeast kind of aerate, kind of get that yeast in there pretty good. Okay. All right. You know what I'm going to do as well? I'm going to take a little measurement for the hydrometer. So I'll do that. Let me get that next. Okay, so we got the hydrometer filled. That's why I scooped up some of the wort from there, and I filled up this little tube. And the hydrometer, we're going to use that to get the alcohol content. You got to take 2 measurements before the fermentation starts and after it ends. So I had to grab some before it was fermented so we can get that before reading. But that's done, and I put the cover on the bucket there, and we got the airlock. And the last thing I'm going to do is just going to add a little bit of water, like so. And just want to create a little airlock. So that's pretty much it. So we'll do our next video when it's time for the bottling.